Hello everyone and welcome to Theme Park Worldwide, where a few days ago across our social media platforms and also the YouTube community page, we did ask you all for lots of different questions that you'd like to see myself and Charlotte answer. And we've got all of them answers now, haven't we?
We have had so many questions, so we've whittled it down to 60 and we're going to answer all these questions for you today.
You say whittled it down to 60, that's still a lot of questions to get through.
It is a lot.
So we're going to get straight in with it. We're going to go through all these different questions. Of course, we've had hundreds over the past few days, so thank you to each and every one of you that put a question forward for us to answer. Now what I've also done is kind of tried to tie some of the questions together, obviously, and naturally when you're doing a Q&A, a lot of them do sound quite similar and that sort of thing, so I've tried to combine some questions if necessary just to try and cover all of the answers the best that we can do. But should we go straight for it, Charlotte?
Let's go for it.
Hey, with the first question then. So what camera equipment do you use when shooting your videos? So I use lots of different cameras over the years. I always tend to switch between Sony and Canon cameras. Currently using Sony. I'm using the Sony ZV-1 Mark II and also a Sony AX53, depending on what we're doing. We're filming on the smaller of the two, which is the ZV-1 Mark II at the moment. But then if we're doing construction updates, we use the AX53 because it's got me massive zoom, which is really good for zooming in on them coaster projects, which is always great. In terms of POVs, we're currently filming on a GoPro Hero 10 Black. Normally update the GoPro every 2 or 3 that come out. So yeah, I'll probably get the next one when that comes available.
Next question is, would Shawn be interested in one day making a documentary series about the history of Alton Towers?
Definitely. In fact, that's something that I'm looking at doing. I don't know if we'll get around to it this year or not, but I'd love to do that. And of course, I know the question was more aimed at me, but we'd certainly produce that together, wouldn't we?
I think it's one of them. There's so much history that comes to Alton Towers, so taking people round to be able to show you that and capture it would be great.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. So stay tuned. Like I said, I don't know if we'll get a chance for it this year or not. We've got some different plans with Alton Towers content this year. We're going to be doing our usual vlogs, reviews and all that sort of stuff, but I've also got a lot more other plans, and in fact I'll talk more about them with some of the other questions later in the Q&A. But yeah, we might get round to filming that this year, or even parts of it to release it over winter. But yeah, a documentary about Alton Towers, really going into the history and former attractions, is something that I would love to produce with Charlotte at some point on Theme Park Worldwide. How likely do you think it is that the UK Universal Park will go ahead? I've got to say, it's sounding quite promising, isn't it?
It does. We are so excited for this. The fact the land's been purchased and stuff's going on behind the scenes, I think this is likely going to happen.
Yeah, the land wouldn't have been purchased by Comcast, of course, the parent company of Universal, if they didn't have the intentions of doing it. So no, I genuinely think it's going to happen. I think we're probably going to hear more about the project possibly later this year into 2025. I'm really hoping so, but with this one there's certainly a lot more chance of this happening than like the London Resort, you know, where the land hadn't even been acquired, there was issues with it, and clearly this has been going on behind the scenes for longer than any of us realise. We've got a lot of contacts out there in the industry and every single one of them thinks that this is going to happen, so I think that's really promising moving forwards. But yeah, Universal Studios Great Britain, come on, that's what we want.
So the next question is, how are you able to fund all of your big trips without working? They must cost fortunes.
So I wanted to put this question in mainly because we do work. This is our job and we work really hard on putting it all together. Now, as much as a lot of people think, oh, you know, it's YouTube videos, they film it and put it together, honestly, the amount of time that we both dedicate to this channel when it comes to filming and editing, and then of course putting all the videos together, but also before that it's actually planning the trips as well. You know, it takes a long time to plan something, especially when you look at like the USA road trip we did last year, 25 parks, you got to plan hotels, you got to plan the routes that you're going to be driving, all that kind of stuff. A lot goes into it, so it very much is work and it very much is a job for us. I know that pretty much all of you do really appreciate that, but I just wanted to reiterate, you know, it is full-time employment for us both running our channels, and it does take a long time. Now, in terms of how we fund the trips, obviously like with most YouTube channels, it's all done through the advertising on the video. So at the start of the video, when you see that advert come on, or throughout our videos, that helps fund the trips, which of course means that we can bring more content out there to all of you. So yeah, I just wanted to get that one in there just to make you all aware, because that's of course really helps with the videos and ultimately bringing you more content here on the channel. On to the next question then. Do you think new flat rides will be added to Alton Towers for this year. What do you think, Charlotte?
Unfortunately not. I do feel like at least one new flat ride should have been put at the park for this year, but I highly doubt that we're going to get anything for this year.
Yeah, especially not for the start of the
No.
season. I mean, there would be a chance possibly they could start a construction site, whether that's in Forbidden Valley or X Sector, you know, and open it like in the summer or something, but that isn't normally how Alton Towers work, so I doubt that we're going to be seeing that, unfortunately. But yeah, like Charlotte said, there should have been more of a plan in place, really. It should never have got to this stage, but still, Alton Towers is looking up more this year. I filmed a video earlier in the week talking about everything to be excited for. There's some really promising things, but yeah, I don't think we're going to see any permanent flats for this year, unfortunately. 2025 though, fingers crossed, I'd really like to hope so. Let's see what happens.
So next question is, most anticipated ride of 2024?
Ooh, now there's lots of great rides opening this year. I'm going to go straight in though with mine, and that is Voltron Nevera. Same for Charlotte?
Yeah, this ride looks amazing. I cannot wait to get on it.
So this is the new coaster at Europa Park in Germany. It is our favourite park anyway, but I'm not biased because of that. Genuinely, this looks like a fantastic coaster. And I've always said this, Europa Park, it might be my favourite park in the world, but it hasn't got any coaster that's anywhere near a top 10 for me. It's more the overall package and experience with the theming, the areas, the amount of rides that they have. But in terms of a big standout wow coaster, they didn't have one, and I think this is going to be it. I'm excited for it. Michael Mack shared the other day some more testing footage of it, and it looks amazing now. The full train's assembled on there and testing. We cannot wait for Voltron. And I just wanted to also get into this question, because we had quite a lot of people asking, when do we think it's going to open? I'm really hoping it's going to be opening day in March. It's certainly looking likely, but that still hasn't been confirmed at the time of recording this. But hopefully that'll be the case. It looks great. It's the first ever Mack Ride Striker coaster. It features 7 inversions. It's got the Beyond vertical launch. I mean, that looks epic, doesn't it?
I think the whole coaster layout just looks brilliant, and it fits into Europa so well.
Oh, no, we cannot wait for that one. And something else we're really excited for is the next question. We've had so many questions asking us, when are we going to be getting married? Now, if you follow us over on Instagram, well, first, if you don't follow us, come and give us a follow over on Insta, because we're always posting little teasers and little updates about what's coming up. You can find the links, of course, down below, and you can follow us at Shawn Sambrook.
And at Charlotte TPW.
And, of course, the Theme Park Worldwide account as well. But, yes, we are going to be getting married this year.
Yay!
In 2024. It's going to be coming up, and we won't share a date or anything with you yet, but that's something for you all to be looking forward to, but nowhere near as much as we're looking forward to it.
We are so excited, like behind the scenes, getting everything planned. We cannot wait.
And that's the thing, you know, ultimately it all comes down to, like, with this being our job and that sort of thing too, you know, we've been doing a lot behind the scenes away from the channel, planning for the wedding as well, which is really exciting. I promise you all though, you will find out more details later on in the year about this one, so stay tuned. But we just wanted to get that confirmation in. I think a lot of you have probably worked it out by now. A lot of you are really interested in what we get up to and that sort of thing, and this is going to be the most exciting year for us because of that. So you know, everything else is a bonus this year. The fact that, you know, we've got an amazing year for theme parks and we're getting married is amazing. It really is. So we cannot wait to kind of, the fact that it's all timed beautifully is even better, you know, because it was going to be a brilliant year for us getting married, but the fact we've also got all these amazing rides opening this year means it's like a really memorable year for us, because, like, I mean, not like you would anyway, but we're never going to forget when we got married, are we?
It's like the ultimate year to remember, so we cannot wait.
You know, you're never going to forget, like, oh, the UK's tallest and fastest coaster opening, Nemesis opening at Alton Towers again. You know, what a year for us. So yeah, we are getting married this year, and it's going to be really exciting. So of course, stay tuned for more updates. I'm tearing up. It's getting me all emotional. Oh, it's going to be great though.
Next question. Have you ever considered going for a roller coaster riding record, or maybe an attempt on a particular flat ride, or even a dark ride?
A record? So we're talking a bit like the guy who rode, like, the Big Dipper and stuff, you know, like for many, many days and that sort of thing. In all honesty, it's not something that I've considered. What about you?
I think for me, I think I'd like feel sick.
Yeah.
And something, I'm surprised that someone's next said like a water ride. I'll be riding a water ride for like a week.
We could try and arrange it, like Valhalla or something.
No.
I think for me, obviously, I did Nemesis all day, like many years ago, and I might do some more challenges like that again this year. Some things that we could maybe both do. But also, it's one of them too. It all comes down to time. If I was trying to beat a world record, some of them are like 100 days and stuff. And I think for me, that would obviously affect me going to the other parks. And as much as, you know, I love re-riding rides, I also like getting a variety of attractions and parks in. So I don't plan on beating any world records anytime soon, but stay tuned for some possible more like challenge videos coming up throughout the year. Unless you fancy all down the water ride, Charlotte.
No, just no.
On to the next question then. Why does the runaway mine train at Alton Towers have that really slow rotating exit gate? So this is a nice easy one to answer, no massive long explanation. Basically just to make sure that, you know, there's no way of people running from the offload area that's also like the disabled area as well onto the platform. So you had that slow gate because back in the day, it used to be a gate that manually would be opened by a ride host. I think that ride host at one point forgot to come and shut the gate. So to avoid that from happening, they put in the slow exit gate. So yeah, that's the answer to that one with that just there for the mine train.
So the next question is, based on your experience of opening days of new/reimagined attractions, what sort of queues would you expect for the opening days of Nemesis Reborn and Hyperia?
So yes, the two very much anticipated rides, aren't they, for this year? Let's start off with Nemesis Reborn. Of course, you know, as much as it is new, it's also a reimagined classic as well. There's a lot of nostalgia with Nemesis. It's going to be busy. And again, at the time of recording, an opening date hasn't been announced. Of course, that could have changed in the days that this has been posted. But when we're sat here now, we don't know an opening date. But still, it's going to be busy. Nemesis is going to bring in the crowds. It's iconic. It's a world famous coaster. Not just people from across the UK, but people from around Europe and the rest of the world will be coming down to ride Nemesis. It will be busy. But saying that, it's also a high capacity coaster. So, you know, I do think it's probably going to, I don't want to put like an exact time on it, but I would expect it more to be a couple of hours a lot of the time instead of like 4 and 5 hours, like when the Smiler opened. Oh. It's high capacity. I think it's, you know, it's going to soak up the queues quite well. In terms of Hyperia, of course, that's also reasonably high capacity and it's a shorter coaster as well. It all depends on the operations, but in general, again, there's a lot of hype with it. I think Hyperia will get longer wait times though than Nemesis. I think Nemesis is probably going to be the more popular of the two initially, but Hyperia, in the long term, I think is going to get bigger queues because that's a big talking point for the UK.
Hyperia's got that huge wow factor because people are going to go to Thorpe Park and be like, look at the size of this coaster, I need to go on this one, and everyone's just going to flock there. It's going to be so busy. Yeah,
I think so too, but I guess we'll see what happens, but the best thing is get there early, arrive literally a couple of hours before opening for things, if you can do, and maximise your day at the park. That's what we're really saying with this one. On to the next question then. So your life is spent with a camera in your hand. Will you ever take a holiday so you both can relax and chill and spend time together and enjoy each other's company without making vlogs? Good question. Well, the thing is, we actually do a lot of stuff off camera anyway, don't we?
We do, like, we still do go away and spend time with friends and family. We do so much off camera that people don't see, so we spend so much time away from the camera, but we do spend a lot of time on the camera as well.
It's one of them things we actually factor it into trips as well, especially when it's parks that we go to that we love all the time. For example, we just announced a few days ago we're going back to Florida. You know, we're not recording every day. In fact, there'll probably be 5 or 6 days of that trip where we won't even have a camera on us just to enjoy it and see friends and that sort of thing. So no, you know, for us, we do have that balance. Also, with us getting married this year, we're going to be having a honeymoon. We're not going to be filming the honeymoon. We're going to be just enjoying that. In fact, we're going to be doing another cruise for the honeymoon, but we're not going to be filming that. We're just going to enjoy it and have some time away from the camera. And that's the thing. I love filming things. I love documenting them. That much so, when we do go on our honeymoon, it will be weird not filming it actually, because I love taking you all along. But also, I think that's the key to keeping this hobby fresh and also waking up every day loving doing this, because I've done it for so long now, you get used to it, but also it's about having that balance right and thinking, you know what, I'm having a day off today. And sometimes I'll film a few videos in one day, especially like home videos like this. So it's planned in and that we know, oh, I can have a day off without doing any filming and stuff. So we plan it quite well, don't we?
We do. You don't want to spend all the time on camera, but we just love doing it so much. But we do have that time off camera to spend time together.
Yeah, and it's really important to do that, especially, you know, with us living together and working together as well. We really like to get that balance and make it right. On to the next question then.
So, do you think Galactica Alton Towers will have a retheme in the nearest future?
What are you thinking?
I think before it has a retheme, it needs a good pressure wash. It looks disgusting before anything happens.
It does need a good clean. I think it will have a retheme at some point. I mean, Forbidden Valley, obviously a lot of work's going on at the moment, and clearly, you know, they're not going to have time to do that for this season now. But maybe for next year, possibly, we could see
I think it's one of them where, with Nemesis Reborn, I think Galactica looks a little bit out of place, maybe because of the track colour.
Yeah.
But then if there was to change it to black, everything would just look a bit too... I don't know what
It'd look the same, wouldn't it?
Everything would look the same. So
Yeah.
if they do a retheme on it, they need to be careful with colours, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that too. But now I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Galactica in the long term. But short term, I don't think we'll see anything.
No.
But maybe for next year or in the following years, we could see some changes with Galactica's retheme at Alton Towers. On to the next question. Will you ever do a top 10 video for like roller coasters, flat rides, dark rides, or even full theme parks? So we've been saying this for quite some time. Top 10 videos are something that we've not done much of these past couple of years. And there's a reason behind that. Mostly, we really struggle to rank things, don't we?
We do, because we've done so much. Trying to pin it down to a top 10, sometimes it is so hard.
It's really difficult. However, we are planning on doing some more countdown videos, not necessarily just top 10s, things like top 20s, top 25s, like top 5 tips for visiting this park and things. So there is plans to do more of that. Stay tuned as we move more into March and the start of the season, because we're planning on doing a lot more of that sort of thing. And also, instead of just filming maybe top 10 videos here in the studio, doing it more out on location at some of the theme parks is what I'd like to do moving forwards in the long term. So watch this space with this one. I know you all want to know our updated top 10 coasters and that sort of thing. Realistically, I don't think we can do a top 10 coasters. We'll have to do like a top 25 and everything will be like so close. But stay tuned. We will definitely do more, won't we, Charlotte?
We will indeed. It's just so hard pinning stuff down.
It is, and I like to appreciate each and everything for what it is as well. But no, it's a good question, that one. Stay tuned. There'll definitely be more coming up.
So the next question is, what inspired you to start filming theme parks?
Oh, for me, it was my parents back when I was a kid taking me to theme parks and falling in love with them, really. And so it meant that I also wanted to document it when I got older. My parents used to film loads of home videos. I've shared some of those on the channel in the past before, and I've still got quite a lot in the archives, maybe to pull out one day for you to all see. Maybe if we do like a theme park worldwide documentary or something, I could bring all those out for you. But yeah, that's what got it into it for me. It was mum and dad taking me to parks and attractions. They also filmed it, and then that made me want to capture it too. What about yourself?
I think it's one of them. I went to quite a lot of parks as a kid with my mum and dad. They used to take the big camcorder about and film. Me and my dad used to go to Alton Towers like all the time together. So it was just bringing that. Drayton Manor was my home park, so I spent a lot of time at Drayton Manor with family. So it was just always going to the parks. Loved it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you know, when you start loving theme parks, I think you're just born into it, and you love travelling and seeing different things. And obviously, we're really lucky to do what we do now, to go out and see all of these different places. Right then, on to that next question. So if you had to pick one ride to go on for an entire day, what would you both choose?
Mine's going to be Maverick.
Maverick,
I
Cedar Point.
love Maverick so much, but when we went, the queue was so big, so we couldn't get loads of rides on it. I'd ride Maverick all day.
Oh, I'm sure we'll be going back out there at some point. Top Thrill 2's on the way. I'm excited for that one. For me, it would be Shambhala at PortAventura. Now, as much as it's not like my favourite coaster anymore, it's still up there as one of my all-time favourites, a B&M Hyper. As much as Steel Vengeance at Cedar Point, right next to Maverick, Charlotte's number one, is my number one coaster. I don't think I could literally ride that for an entire day now. I think it'd, like, the body would be damaged at the end of that.
You need to have a rest after going on Steel Vengeance.
Definitely, but no, for me it would be Shambhala and Charlotte Maverick with that one.
So the next question is, do you find roller coasters harder on your body as you get older? Do you ever make either of you feel ill, and which ones?
Or I don't think it really has started affecting my body yet. I think it's that I'm that used to doing it, to be honest. But obviously at the end of like a long day or a long trip, you sit down and just like, oh, just relax. But I wouldn't say I feel pain on rides really, and from like getting older. I think it's more if a ride's uncomfortable, to be honest, where it affects me more.
I think sometimes certain rides do make me feel a little bit sick. I can't do re-rides a lot. Sometimes I'll send Shawn round for a read out and I'll sit out and then go on it again later in the day.
Yeah.
But it doesn't I'm not in like any body pain or anything like that.
No, know, maybe like 10 years from now, might be a different story. I don't know, we'll see. But no, as it stands right now, not at all. For me, it's just uncomfortable on some rides, and that's because of the nature of the ride, like Hero at Flamingo Land, for example, and the restraints. I'd much rather have a more comfortable ride experience. On to the next question then. What editing software do you use for videos? So I use Sony Vegas Pro. I've used that for many, many years. I'm just used to it. I find it nice and easy. It renders really nice too. I've tried other software, doesn't really work for me. Sony Vegas is what I like using, and that's the thing. I'm most comfortable with it, and as we post something every day, that works out the best for us on Theme Park Worldwide.
So on to the next one. Will we see more single rider queues at Alton Towers?
Oh, I really hope so. There used to be single riders on pretty much everything, didn't they?
I personally think that single riders should definitely come back. You see a lot more people going to the park as a solo person, and they've got to queue up in the queue when there's empty seats going round. Really, it's not that much to put a single rider queue in. I
agree. The only ride at Alton Towers currently that's got a single rider is the Smiler. Even that was took away for a while, but they did bring it back. Back in the day though, everything, like all the big rides had single rider, like 13, Rita, Galactica, you know, Nemesis had a single rider queue. So I'm really hoping that we do see it more in the long term. I don't get why they don't, because at the end of the day, them rides are running around with empty seats. Is it more so people are inclined to buy fast track, or is it down to more staffing and the fact that, you know, you've got to then staff effectively a single rider queue? Someone, you know, who's got to be checking restraints, then come out and move single riders on, something like that. I don't really know, but I think they should look at it more, especially at Alton Towers and the nature of the park that it is. On to the next question then. Do you think Disney will ever think about opening a new park now too? So I'm presuming that you're in response to kind of Universal Epic Universe. Walt Disney World, of course, have got the 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, and the entertainment district. Do I think a 5th park's going to come? Not anytime soon, unfortunately. I don't think they've really got that interest. And actually, I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing that they might not bring a 5th park in soon. I'd much rather see them fill out the current parks and make them all like 2-day parks, you know. That's
the thing. I think sometimes with Disney as well, they work so slow on projects. If there was to do a new park, it would take years and years to open.
I mean, 4 years to do some footpaths in the centre of Epcot. I mean, you know, Tron was like the best part of 4 years as well. And then look at Epic Universe, it has all gone up in like 3 years. But no, realistically, I don't think we need a 5th park at Walt Disney World. They need to build up the offering. They need to go forward, away from this blue sky thinking now, confirm projects at D23 and actually open up new things. The expansion of Magic Kingdom that's been rumoured, get that approved. Animal Kingdom now needs some new things and new love. Again, it's rumoured, but it's not confirmed. You know, they need to be moving forward on these projects and then also just keep adding to the current parks, make them all at least 2-day parks in my opinion. I know like Magic Kingdom right now is a 2-day park anyway, but it's the busiest theme park in the world. Pack it with more attractions, get more capacity in, and then think about a 5th park when all of the current parks are at the top of the game and filled out from a capacity point of view.
Next question. Would you consider in-park live streams?
I think the thing is, we've tried doing it actually in the past. We did one at Alton Towers like last year. It's like a short one. The worst thing in the UK with it is signal, to be honest. Like, you know, you see a lot of American YouTubers in the park live streaming, and I enjoy watching those myself. But the thing is, it all comes down to signal. So it's just not something we have very good. Like Alton Towers, for example, you can do it in a couple of areas of the park, and even on the Wi-Fi, it's not strong enough. So I'd like to do more live streaming. Maybe we'll try it again, experiment a bit more with it this year. But really, that's the answer to that one. It all comes down to signal, really, doesn't it?
Sometimes you go and you've just got no signal whatsoever, and you can't even get onto the Wi-Fi. So sometimes it would just be so hard to do a live stream when you've got no signal or Wi-Fi.
Okay, then on to the next question. Do you think that parks should be more open about rider sizes for certain rides? Definitely, I think more test seats are needed out there at the parks, just so people can try the seats before they queue up for a ride, because there's nothing worse for people than queuing up and then being turned away in the ride station. And for the rider, obviously that's not a great experience. And also in terms of slowing down the operation too, if there's a test seat, then everyone's happy and people know. I do think though, in the long term, parks also need to be working on restraints and making them more accommodating for people of different sizes and shapes. So I'd like to see more of the test seats in the future, really.
I think the test seats are just really good, because a lot of the times it's got the clicker to say how far it's going to go down. A test seat is just easy out the front.
It is, yeah, and from like a safety point of view as well, everyone's happy and everyone knows what they're doing with that one.
So the next question is, how many coaster credits do you have?
So I've got over 1,400 now at the time of recording. What about you, Charlotte?
So I actually lost my coaster count and I couldn't work out everything by going through like fun fair rides, like coasters at fun fairs and stuff. So I was just like, I just don't know.
No, so you've lost it, haven't you?
I lost it and I just couldn't bring it all back up to know where I was at.
But we might try and recover it at some point.
I have no idea.
Might try and work it out again, you know, at some point. But, you know, I count more seriously than Charlotte, but nowhere near as seriously as I used to. It always makes me laugh with some people when they're like, oh, you know, is this a credit? Is this not a credit? I've got a funny question about that coming up later, actually. No, I think for me, yeah, it's just over 1,400. But no, I don't count as much as I used to. I think for me now, I've always said this, when we go on a park trip, if you've got like a massive thrill coaster and then you've got a kids coaster, I'd rather have re-rides on that than go round on just like another standard kids coaster, really. On to the next question. With the amount of rides and new lands the Looping Group have invested in at Drayton Manor over the past 3 years, do you think their next big project will be a new dark ride in the former Pirate Adventure building? I'd love to see that. Pirate Adventure was a brilliant ride at Drayton Manor. We used to love it, didn't we?
I loved it. And going with my family, we used to have so many rides on that because it was such a good ride. Lots
of happy memories. And I think that's the thing. Yes, something will be done with that. I mean, Drayton Manor's new coaster's taken up that top site where Apocalypse and Pandemonium were. With this now, there's not going to be long, really, until they're not running out of space, but they need to think of redeveloping other areas. That area and the lake where Excalibur used to be, prime real estate for them to do something big there in the future.
So, next question then. Heading to Thorpe Park in April and staying in the cabins. Have you stayed in them before?
Yes, we have done, haven't we?
We have. I think it's one of those, if you're staying with more than like 3 people, it would be a bit of a squeeze because they are quite small, but they are very cosy.
Yeah, we quite enjoyed staying in them actually. Like, I always thought, you know, what they're going to be like. But no, we stayed in them, we were fine, we slept really well in there actually. It was very quiet. As much as I'd like to see them have like some proper accommodation there, like a big hotel by the lake, you know, it's something there. So I'm sure you'll be fine. And I think you've got that access straight into the park. You're literally in the park boundary as well, which is really good. So no, I hope you enjoy it. Have a lovely stay when you go there. On to the next question. What are your thoughts on Project Horizon? What type of coaster or ride system do I think it will be? And when do I think work will be started? Well, I've spoken about this quite a lot in various videos recently about Alton Towers. Project Horizon is the next big ride basically that they're planning on building. Originally was sounding like a 2025 opening. Definitely won't be now. No work has started at this moment in time on the site, which is behind the world of David Walliams on a previously used area, but not for many, many years. So yeah, in terms of when it's going to happen, possibly a couple of years down the line now. Maybe plan for a 2026 opening. I guess we'll find out. They have got the planning permission though for it, which is good. Along with that, in terms of what I think it'll be, definitely an indoor roller coaster. The size of that building is way too big to even be like a flying theatre or anything like that. Indoor coaster, and we're excited to follow that whenever it happens, aren't we, really?
We'd love an indoor coaster, so to have an indoor coaster at Alton Towers will be very exciting.
It would be fantastic, but of course stay tuned to Theme Park Worldwide and we'll bring you more updates as we get them.
So on to the next question. How did you two meet?
Oh, it's a nice story, isn't it?
It is. It's really weird because I actually met Shawn like from a distance on Corkscrew closing day.
Yeah, many, many years ago.
I was there with my dad and I was like, oh my God, it's Shawn. And we didn't speak. And then so many years later, me and my dad was at Alton Towers, we was watching the Smiler being constructed and I actually met you there. And then we just got talking and here we are.
Yeah, so you kind of like saw me, didn't you? From, you know, you didn't come over and speak. You saw me from a distance at Corkscrew. Because you watched my old videos, you know, back when I was a teenager too and growing up, like, it's crazy, isn't it? And then, of course, yeah, it all kind of goes back to the Smiler construction at Alton Towers throughout kind of like early 2013. Because the ride was delayed, it was originally going to open in March and it opened in May. Meaning that we met there, and yeah, it was great because obviously your dad's a big enthusiast as well, and that's how it all started, really.
Yeah, my dad started talking to you, and then I started talking to you, and then here we are, nearly 11 years later.
And getting married this year.
Yay.
How exciting. That's amazing, that, isn't it? What a story. Have you booked any more cruises? We love seeing the excitement and enjoyment you got out of the Carnival cruise. Simple answer to this one, yes. Yay. As you might have seen from our trip reveal a few days ago, we're going on our first ever Disney cruise, and we are very excited. So stay tuned for that. It'll be coming up on the Sandbrook Adventures very, very soon. It's going to be great, that one.
So the next question is, where in the UK do you think is likely we'll get a proper RMC like Gwazi or Steel Vengeance?
Realistically, there's only a couple of parks that could either afford it or be able to build it from a planning permission point of view, I think that would either be Alton Towers, Thorpe Park, or Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Realistically, if it was going to get built anywhere, I'd like to see it at Thorpe Park in the long term. I think it would be great. A massive coaster of that scale. Alton Towers, obviously, they could build one, but it'd be limited to height and location. But Thorpe Park, if they were going to do it. What about you?
I think it would be Thorpe, that it would be best suited. Or Pleasure Beach.
You know, yeah, Pleasure Beach, it would be good. It's more space. I wouldn't really want to see an existing classic kind of touched by RMC. But I guess we'll see what happens. In terms of when, I think it'll be a while. I don't know if we'll see an RMC for quite a while in this country, but you never know. We'll see what happens. On to the next question then, and that is, what are your favourite defunct attractions, UK parks and abroad, and which one would you be able to love to ride again if you had a time machine? What about you?
Oh, I need to have a little think about this one. Something that's closed that I'd ride again.
Yeah, I think for me, I would definitely love to bring back Toyland Tours to Alton Towers.
What a classic.
That was great. The Black Hole as well, even Corkscrew, you know, just to ride that again, just all the nostalgia behind that. In terms of full parks, the American Adventure theme park, I'd love to revisit that again because that was fantastic.
I think Wild Mouse at Pleasure Beach.
Wild Mouse, it was a good choice.
We had many fun times on there and we was gutted when it went.
It was fantastic, the Wild Mouse. Yeah, I'd love to see that come back in a new form at some point in the future. Would be fantastic.
So the next question, any ideas on what the area that was meant to be in Galaxy's Edge in Disneyland Paris will be now instead?
So yes, it seems like Galaxy's Edge won't be coming now to Paris after it didn't really go down that well out in America. Shame really, because it's a great land, and the rumour was Rise of the Resistance was coming to Paris. That would have been great. So any rumours, because obviously Frozen Land is definitely happening. That's well under construction now. But there's rumours that it could be like a Lion King area. I've also heard rumours of a Pandora, like a version of Avatar coming there, which would be really nice. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But no, Lion King seems like it could be a popular one. It's never been done really, a full Lion King area, and I think that'd be great, don't you?
I think the Lion King is such a classic, like the music, the movie. To actually have like a land dedicated to the Lion King would just be so unique, and it would really fit at a Disney park.
It really would, yeah, I'd love to see that. Next question, is the Sky Ride at Alton Towers going to open in 2024? Fingers crossed. There's been no official confirmation that it is going to, but it's very much needed to. It's important, isn't it?
Like for mobility, or people with push chairs, or for anybody for that matter, walking around Alton Towers is such a big park. We have missed the Sky Ride a lot because we're just getting so many steps in going backwards and forwards, but most importantly, we need the Sky Ride back. Yeah, so let's hope so. But yeah, I'm led to believe the gondolas are no longer like outside. They're back in the maintenance shed, so hopefully the Sky Ride's going to be open. So what has been the hardest trip to plan for and why?
Oh, now I really do all the trip planning, don't I, with things, you know.
You do, because I wouldn't have a clue.
I've got to say, it's the big road trips. It's like the USA road trip, that sort of thing, because you've got to plan park timings, park days when they're actually open, hotels, distances in between stuff, of course arranging things with the park like POVs when we can do. It's a lot to plan. It takes many hours of planning to do like a road trip like that. So yeah, I'd say like our USA road trip from last year was the most difficult trip to plan, but it was rewarding and everything went to plan other than one thing, and that was the car breakdown.
Shocking.
But you know, it went pretty well, and even that we managed to compromise, swap things round. Yes, we only had half a day to enjoy King's Dominion, but you know what, we made the most of it. We swapped things round and we still had a good time. That's the main thing. On to the next question then. If you could recommend the best child-friendly parks which can easily be reached outside of the UK, which parks would you recommend? Well, of course, you've got like the Legoland parks around the world. Legoland Billund, we really enjoyed that one, didn't we?
Oh, Legoland Billund was so cute. It was really nice, like the Midland area, and they've got a great selection of rides. Yeah, so the Legoland parks are really good. Along with that though, you've got a lot of like quirky self-operated parks like Funny World, that's great for kids. Or you can go with lots of the bigger parks in Europe that more than cater for children. That is like Europa Park, Efteling, they've got a lot of rides. Phantasialand have got a few bits, but not really much for kids. So I'd say like kind of Efteling, Europa Park, if you're looking for bigger parks that have got a lot. Or the Plopsa parks like Plopsaland Japan, most famous for the ride to happiness, but really they've got a lot of kids rides there. Their new like Bumba Dart ride was really cute when we did that last year. So I definitely recommend those. If you could build any coaster in the world, in any place, where would you build it? It'd have to be Steel Vengeance from Cedar Point, built in the UK at Thorpe Park for me. Mine's got to be Maverick and bring it to Alton Towers. Yeah, and it could do. That's the thing. It's realistic, that, you know. Because it's so low to the ground and it's not high, They'd be able to build it.
They would. Like, it's less high than Rita, isn't it? Like,
I love Maverick.
Or a similar height. Anyway, but now I think that's a good realistic one. What sort of ride models do you think the UK hasn't got enough of? Airtime coasters. Now, that could change with the new ride at Drayton Manor because it looks like it's going to have some good airtime, but still, it is more of a family thrill ride. I'd love to see a big thrill airtime machine built in the UK. Obviously, Hyperion looks like it's going to have some bits. Obviously, not as many as like a B&M Hyper would, you know, with the classic kind of camelbacks. I'd love to have seen something like that. But yeah, airtime for me. And just in general, maybe some more unique permanent flats at the park would be really nice.
Yeah, it'd be definitely airtime because we just love a bit of airtime. And maybe just expand on more dark rides as well because we just love a dark ride.
We do, and a lot of people like dark rides. With our climate in the UK, more dark rides are needed. But if Universal Studios does end up happening down in Bedford, then of course that would have loads of dark rides and that would be a big focus. So that would be really exciting. But no, I look forward to seeing what happens with that. On to the next question.
So, where's best to start at a day in Alton Towers?
Oh, I think for me, it's got to be Dark Forest.
Yeah.
Right down the back, try and get on Rita and 13 first. You can have them done if you're lucky enough by like 10:15. You know, and the park opens at 10, you can be straight down there. Well, I say the park opens, they open the turnstiles earlier. Get there for opening. You can be in the queue for like Rita and 13, and then you can be straight out. I would normally recommend actually doing Rita first instead of 13 because a lot of people, when they run into Dark Forest, they see Rita there first. I'd do it, get it done, and then you're straight into 13 that normally doesn't build up as much of a queue as Rita. In the past, I'd always said like Forbidden Valley first as well, but with Nemesis, that's going to be a bit of a change this year. On to the next question. I'm visiting the UK from Australia. Oh, I hope you have a good time. In October, we'll only have time to visit 2 parks. I'm thinking Alton Towers and Pleasure Beach. Which ones would you do? It's tough, really. I mean, as much as Alton Towers and Pleasure Beach are my favourite 2 parks in the UK, you know, you have got Hyperion that's opening at Thorpe Park. So maybe this year, really, the best ones to do would be Alton Towers and Thorpe Park. What do you think? I
think definitely coming over to ride Hyperion because this ride is going to be fantastic. It looks great.
It does.
I would definitely go to Thorpe.
Yeah, I think so. Alton Towers and Thorpe Park. Yeah. As much as Pleasure Beach is my favourite park, you know, well, Alton Towers and Pleasure Beach are my favourite parks over Thorpe. You know, I think that would be a good decision going for Hyperion this year because it's one not to be missed.
So, do you believe that we will really start to see the effects of the Six Flags / Cedar Point merger this year, or will the effects not be significant until later point? Complex question. So yeah, basically you've got the merger between the 2 companies now, and yeah, I do think we're going to be seeing some changes this year, possibly to the pricing and that sort of thing, but in terms of changes at the park and investment, maybe not until next year. But no, these 2 big companies coming together, we still don't fully know what we're going to be seeing yet, but I'm definitely expecting to be some changes moving forwards. But in general, it's never normally a great thing having loads of companies, well, 2 companies merging together, is it really? I was quite shocked when it got announced. I was like, oh my God, there's going to be so many parks under like one membership. Yeah, like one umbrella. Yeah, it's, you know, it does concern me a little bit. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one. On to the next question. With the amount of knowledge you have of theme parks, would you consider working in management someday at a park as you have so many good suggestions? Well, thank you. I'm glad that you think we have good suggestions. We're just realistic. That's the thing. We're honest. We're realistic. We appreciate what the parks do. Myself, I've worked in the parks. I know what it's like. Would I want to work in management at the park? Possibly, but more than likely not. In fact, instead of doing that, I'd rather try and start my own business and create some sort of leisure attraction using my own ideas instead, because I've got some great ideas, that much so I'd rather implement them myself than give them away to a big park, you know. But in general, I'd love to see all the parks continue to do really well, but also it'd be really nice to kind of open an attraction of some form in the long term as well. But yeah, it's a good question. Thanks for that one. What's one ride from Walt Disney World you'd love to see in Disneyland Paris? Ooh, I think I know what your answer would be. See, I've got 2. Go on. I've got 2. So the first one would be Figment, of course, my favourite little purple dragon. And I'd have to say Guardians. Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Guardians. Yeah, you do, don't you? Cosmic Rewind. For me, I'm going to say an attraction that I'd like to see come to Disneyland Paris that would really, really fit from Walt Disney World, I'm going to say Expedition Everest. I think a large coaster
like Everest would be great in Walt Disney Studios around the lake.
It does need a new big coaster in
Yeah,
there.
and an original theme. I would bring it to the round the lake, the new expansion. Imagine something like Everest there. I think it'd be a great fit for Disneyland Paris. Or if it wasn't directly a clone, something like Everest I think would be great with its own little mini area around there. That's what I'd like to see. Right then, Epic Universe looks absolutely fantastic. Oh, it's looking good. Are you guys going to try and be there for the opening? Most definitely for this one, aren't we?
We are so excited. Like, I cannot wait to see the finished product. This is such a huge thing for the whole theme park industry, and to see this getting built is very exciting.
Yeah, it is. We've been following it closely. In fact, did an update on it just a few days ago on the channel, so make sure you check that out if you haven't seen it, going through the concepts of Celestial Park and Starfall Racers. But no, we're definitely going to be there for the opening. If there's any sort of preview, soft openings, that sort of thing, we'll see what happens. But we want to be in that park as soon as we can do, and not just for like one day. I want to be there for a few days and really live it and see it, and see what Universal Epic Universe is going to be like.
So, next question. Do you think Chessington/Merlin will retrack and bring in new trains for Vampire Ride as it's over 30 years?
I mean, Vampire is a classic, isn't it? You know, and it is starting to show its age now. Bear in mind, they're not the original trains on there. They got replaced quite some time ago now. Like in the mid-2000s, early 2000s it was. You know, when you had the old back trains from Aerodynamics, got changed to the ones from Vekoma. But I don't think they did any major track work from what I can remember. So that track could be coming towards the end of its life. I do think with it being an iconic ride for Chessington, they would do a retrack, or even like a new ride following the same layouts, because you've got to think realistically, Vekoma can do so much more now with that style of ride, can't they, you know?
Vekoma have come a long way, so it'd be really nice to see it get revamped.
You look at like Flight of the Pterosaur at Bolton's Park, you know, that packs a lot of thrill and excitement in, possibly more than Vampire, but it is a great layout and it is a classic. So I'd like to see them kind of regenerate Vampire, but I wouldn't like to see them do a like-for-like replacement like they did with Nemesis, maybe enhancing the experience, changing up some of the profiling and making it a different ride, but still keeping that classic Vampire charm would be good. And I'd also have it as a purple track. Dark purple, I think it'd look gorgeous, don't you think?
Yeah, it would. I'd also like to see new trains and maybe a lap bar.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, the over-the-shoulder restraints too much on there.
Yeah, they are.
That's just Vekoma. They've come a long way over the years, haven't they? That's the thing. The new annual events lineup at Alton Towers released recently, particularly thinking of Scarefest. Which scare maze would you bring back from the dead and why? I like how you said bring back from the dead, getting a bit spooky. What about you, Charlotte?
It's got to be the Sanctuary.
The Sanctuary.
That was the first ever scare maze I did, and I can remember I went in with my dad. We didn't know what to expect, and I was terrified, and I loved it. That would be one that I would 100% bring back.
The Sanctuary was good.
So
it was all kind of hospital and clinical themed. It was really good. For me, I'm going to go for the Boiler House, because I really enjoyed the Boiler House and the Hamble twins and that sort of thing. I thought that was fantastic. So yeah, I'd love to see the Boiler House come back to Alton Towers, and that could easily be kind of reformed into the new kind of a new storyline and that sort of thing. But I guess we'll see what happens. But no, good question. Thanks for that one.
Will you bring back travel guides? They were incredibly helpful.
So yes, we've got a playlist of travel guides on the channel. Definitely looking at doing some more in the future, but maybe not in the same format as they were before. Trying to do it a more kind of like top 10 travel tips for going to this theme park or this destination. Stay tuned for more content like that. It's going to be coming up throughout the year. On to the next question. How are you able to get the videos edited together and posted so quickly? Most of the time, like when we're on a big trip, I'll edit a video a night. So if we're doing like a road trip, I'll try and plan to edit a video that night so it can render, and then either get it on that next day, or if we've got like a backlog, we'll start the travel vlog a few days after we arrive on the trip. So then the vlogs can all be posted kind of on from that. So yeah, it can be quite difficult, but I do try my best. And ultimately, it all goes down to internet speed as well, doesn't it?
It does. That is the pain of our lives sometimes. We go to a hotel and it's like the internet is just so slow. So a lot of the time we're fighting with internet to make sure that it's okay.
Yeah, Charlotte will tell you my frustrations sometimes with internet. Like, I'm really efficient. I'll get some edited. Sometimes I've got like loads of videos edited, ready to upload, but the internet's not very good, you know, so I always try my best. That's the thing, you know. I know you always want to see the video as soon as you can, but I do try my best. And sometimes, you know, I do get frustrated because I want faster internet, like I get here, like with super speeds from home.
The worst part is sometimes you'll book a hotel and it'll be like high-speed internet, and then you get there and it's like, what is this?
Yeah, and it takes like 8 hours to upload a 2-second video, you know. But yeah, we get there and we make the most of it the best we can do.
So, do you think Blackpool Pleasure Beach should bring back a walk-around pass?
Oh, so this is an interesting one because it's quite a controversial in a way with Blackpool Pleasure Beach, you know. Obviously, back in the day, you used to be able to just walk in and pay per ride or buy a wristband if you wanted to. Now, I think bringing back pay per ride would be a good thing. Obviously, keep the option still for season pass and wristband, and also keep a security check because we're in a different world, aren't we, now in the 90s? Security checks are very important, and also it kind of keeps the trouble out of the park, so to speak. Back in the day, I remember going with my parents as a kid. On a night, it would get quite rowdy. It wouldn't really be a family-friendly atmosphere, so I wouldn't like to see Pleasure Beach lose that. But I do feel like just letting people come in for free, or even the £5 charge that it was, you know, is a good way of bringing more attendance into the park.
I think the thing is with Pleasure Beach, you get a lot of people that are coming with the parents, the grandparents, and you find a lot of the time the grandparents or the parents don't want to ride, but they're having to pay full price to go in when they're not going on anything. Yeah,
and it all comes down to ultimately people are going to spend more inside there on food, drink, merchandise, games, you know, all that kind of thing, other experiences. I think it would really benefit the park. I think they need to look at that moving forwards, in my opinion, based on the location that Blackpool Pleasure Beach is in. What was your job when you worked for Alton Towers? So I started off working in the hotels and operations, then moved to do photos. At the time was working for Pixolve, which was the company, and then following on from that went into park operations where I did a mix of everything. Primarily was based on the turnstiles, used to get spotted a lot there, and then of course after that I did a bit of like ride operating, team leaders, all sorts of different things. Heritage, I looked after the archives for a point as well, which was like my big thing before I left. We did this big sort out of the archives, and basically they keep them secret at Alton Towers really, but the archives, it's set up a bit like this in here because obviously I did it all before I left, and it's still like that to this day, even though I've been left for 6 years now. And Charlotte, of course, has never worked at a theme park.
Yeah, a lot of people get surprised when I've not worked at a park. I've never worked at any park before.
No, you haven't?
No, I've not.
No, but there we go, that's that one. On to the next question then. So did we ever have to cancel a big trip due to unforeseen circumstances? Luckily, I don't think we have we?
No, I think the only time we've ever had to cancel something was when COVID came in.
Yes.
We'd got a trip booked to Cedar Point and we did have to cancel it, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. So it was mostly due to the pandemic. So I wouldn't really say that was unforeseen circumstances because it wasn't just for us, it was everyone.
Everybody.
Everyone's plans got cancelled. So yeah, we had that, and we had some other plans for that year, like 2020 as well, that we had to kind of change around and cancel. Luckily though, we got all our money back and stuff.
We did.
But other than that, I mean, obviously we had the,
so.
you know, little issues crop up sometimes, like the car breakdown that we had and stuff. But in general, we're pretty lucky. Like with all the travel, all the flights we do, we often don't get, touch wood, like, you know, we often don't get like a lot of flight delays or cancellations or anything, do we really?
I think we've literally, all the time we've been travelling with you, I've only had like 2 flight cancellations or something like that.
We're pretty lucky.
Let me just touch this wood.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky, you know, because of all the travelling we do. Lots of flights, lots of trains, all that. But no, we do quite well with that one, which I'm quite pleased about.
What do you see yourself doing with content creating over the next 10 years? Is there another career path that interests you?
Good question. Is YouTube going to exist in 10 years? Who knows? Live for now, make the most of now. We love doing what we do and sharing our experiences and filming these videos. And it's amazing, it really is. I mean, YouTube, I've been doing it since I was literally 14 years old. I'm turning 31 this year, which is crazy, really. So now I think there still will be a place for YouTube, at least I hope so. But technology moves on, doesn't it?
It does. Like, times are changing all the time. You just don't know what's going to happen like 1 year from now.
Yeah, in terms of, you know, another career path that interests me, obviously I love my theme parks and everything, but I'd love to, instead of going to work back for a park again, have my own attraction. I'm not saying I'm going to open the next Alton Towers, but, you know, just some sort of attraction of some form would be really nice. You know, I'd love to do something like that in the long term. No, good question, that one. Last 10 questions then now. Do we think that Therm Manchester is going to be happening? So this is the new water park being built next to the Trafford Centre. Well, your guess is as good as mine, because construction should have been underway by now. It was going to open like next year. Originally, I think it was a 2024 opening as well. So I'm not too sure what's happening, but we went recently. Not a lot to see, was there?
They sort of cleared the land, and there was like active stuff like going on here and there, but then literally nothing has happened, so I'm not too sure what's going on.
They took out the old Event City, which was the venue that was on there. That's now gone. But yeah, nothing actually happening in regards to building the water park yet. So they say it's still happening. Like Manchester news articles and stuff keep saying it's happening. So I really hope it does. Massive new indoor water park. Looks amazing. But let's just hope it does. Yeah, fingers crossed for that one.
So I have always wondered, how do likes and comments work to support the channel?
Now, of course, we appreciate each and every one of you for even just clicking on and watching the videos. So thanks so much for that. Your continued support really means the world to us. But of course, if you do take the time to click the like button or comment, that really helps us as well, because obviously it helps more people see our videos and bring them to this channel so they can hopefully discover theme parks and more news and ultimately travel out there themselves and see more parks, because that's our goal with this. It's about taking you all on for the adventure, but also inspiring you to actually get out there and keep on riding, because that is in our title. That's what we say, you know, it's about inspiring you to go out there and see things. And we know that, you know, finances can be tough and people can be in different situations. And if you're not able to go and do that, we hope that you can join us through the videos. That's our ultimate goal, to inspire people to travel more. So yeah, if you like and comment, of course it really helps. If you give us a big thumbs up, it does really help the channel. So thank you so much for that one. What do you look for in a good coaster? I think for me now, for it to be like a world-class ride, it's got to either be a really intense, extreme, major thrill ride, or it's got to be a themed experience now, for me, personally.
I love a themed experience, but for me, I just like airtime.
Yes.
Like for me, inversions don't really matter. It hasn't got to have inversions to be a really good ride. I like the airtime, I like the theming, and just like snappy transitions and stuff like that. Yeah,
I agree with that too. And it's like some of the best coasters out there don't feature any inversions, you know. Inversion after inversion isn't fun. We know that with the Smiler. You know, it's iconic, it really is. People know it all across the world. But realistically, in terms of a layout, it's not great, is it? It's just inversion after inversion, not much else other than the two airtime moments that you don't really feel a lot of airtime because of the restraints. So yeah, you know, I think for me, airtime is a great element, but inversions aren't always needed. So yeah, it's either a themed experience or like a big, intense thrill machine that I really do enjoy.
So from all the parks that have come and gone, which one would you bring back?
I think I mentioned this one earlier on, but it would be the American Adventure theme park. It was not that far away from us here. Brilliant park that was, that I used to absolutely love.
I'd say the one in Cleethorpes.
Yes, Pleasure Island, in Cleethorpes.
That was really nice. It had so much potential as well.
It did, it just wasn't getting the investment, sadly, but it was family owned, you know. The lady that owned it was doing a good job and spent the money, but unfortunately, you know, when you've got bigger theme park companies out there that can afford multi-million-pound rides, it puts the smaller parks, you know, and they don't do as well, which is a shame and unfortunate, because we love supporting all parks, big or small. We'll cover it all on this channel. We had to get that one in. On to the next question then. Last few for you all now. Are you doing the track walks at Alton Towers? So yeah, they've brought back some VIP experiences. Those are on Wicker Man and Oblivion. Yes, we're booked on. We're doing them both, aren't we?
We saw them come out and we literally went onto the website so quick and booked them.
Straight onto them. These things sell out, you know, so you need to get onto them quick if you're going to be doing any of these experiences. Again, at the time of recording, there's still some slots available. If you want them, get them booked. That's my best recommendation for you.
So when riding the bigger coasters, do you prefer riding with or without your glasses on?
What about you, Charlotte?
Well, I don't wear glasses.
Actually, that was directed at me. It depends, really. There's certain rides that I would not take my glasses on. Some rides that I would like to take my glasses on, but I can't without a strap. And some that I'll make sure I take my strap, you know. So generally, if we're going to like bigger parks in America, that are, you know, like a Six Flags or a Cedar Fair, where you know you're going to be riding like 15 big coasters, I'll make sure I have my strap. If we're going more to a park that's got one or two big coasters, most of the time I just take my glasses off and secure them instead. But then there's some rides, like this is one that always gets me, troublesome trucks at Drayton Manor. Now, I understand safety precautions and all that sort of thing. Alton Towers, you know, quite fair when it comes to glasses. If you want to wear your glasses on anything at Alton Towers, you can do. You don't need a strap. I know what I can and can't wear them on at Towers. Like, I wouldn't wear them on Oblivion, but on Nemesis, for example, I keep my glasses on. Troublesome trucks, they've got this blanket rule where your glasses have got to be took off. And it's the same for Accelerator at Drayton Manor as well.
I don't get it.
It just seems a bit, Accelerator I can understand more, but troublesome trucks, like, you know, it's one of them things. But, so yeah, that's my answer to that one regarding spectacles, shall we say. Just spectacles, a nice word, that. Living and working together must be a dream, but do you ever drive each other mad or have an argument, especially when you're travelling a lot on trips and you're getting tired? Well, what do you think?
I think it's like more when I take over the bed and like grab all like the covers off, you get furious with me.
Yeah, I like a good night's sleep, you know, especially if we've had a day at a park. But in general, like, we just get on with it. We try and deal with things the best we can do. Like, we have poor situations, like when the car did break down. I always use that as a reference because personally, that's one of the worst things that I've had happen on a trip, where you're in a foreign country, you're driving, you know, you don't really know what to do or the situation to deal with. So I always use that as an example. But we just try and stay calm.
We really came together on that one.
Yeah, and deal with it. And that's the thing. And because, you know, we're in a strong relationship, it's about trying to come together to deal with these issues the best that you can do, isn't it, really?
Yeah, like we came together so much on that, getting stuff sorted out, because it was such a stressful time.
But no, it is a dream, and ultimately everyone has fallouts, you know, and stuff at times, and it is what it is, isn't it? But
it's nothing major.
It's nothing major, little petty things sometimes. We have a good time, we make the most of it, and we appreciate doing what we do. I think everybody sometimes gets tired and wound up, and, you know, that's just life in general, isn't it? Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that we don't, because everybody out there does at some point in their life, don't they? On to the final few questions then now.
So, will you be counting Nemesis Reborn as a new coaster cred?
Oh, I wanted to put this one in there because I've seen a lot of speculation recently, a lot of, well, I wouldn't say controversial. There's people saying, oh, is it a coaster cred, is it not? For me, Nemesis Reborn is not a new coaster credit. What about you?
I wouldn't say so either. Like, really, it's exactly the same.
Yeah.
If it had got some new elements or something in there, then yeah, but it's the same coaster, so no, I'm not counting it as a new cred.
For me, it doesn't even need new elements to make it that. It just needed a full track replacement, and obviously it isn't, is it? Like, it's obviously the station track's still the same, the brake run, the lift hill. So no, it's not a new credit for me, this one. But if you do want to class it as a credit, that's perfectly fine. People get sometimes decide silly arguments about credits and stuff. It's not worth it. Count what you want to count at the end of the day, and that's why I always use a spreadsheet instead of using like Coaster Count or something, because they, you know, you have to go by what they say then. If you use a spreadsheet, you can decide yourself. Don't argue over it, but for me, it's not a new credit Nemesis Reborn. It's still the 94 Classic with some track replacement. It's like the big one. Is that a new credit? No, it's had some track replacement, and it's a similar thing what we've got going on here, in my opinion, with Nemesis Reborn. On to another question then now. What's the most underrated park in the UK with theming, rides, etc., bar Merlin and Poultons? Oh, that's a good question.
That's a hard one.
Well, you've said anything other than Poultons and Merlin. I'm going to have to say Blackpool Pleasure Beach then. I think it is an underrated park because, you know, you have got a lot of really good theming. You've got some brilliant dark rides that don't get talked about anywhere near enough, like Wallace and Gromit, the Ghost Train, Alice in Wonderland, River Caves. You know, these are beautifully themed experiences. Yes, a lot of them are older rides now, but they're still masterpieces in my opinion. The classic rides, and then of course you've got your modern dark ride like Valhalla. You know, Pleasure Beach doesn't get enough appreciation as it should do in my opinion. It's a great park, it's got a lot of history, a lot of heritage, it's very important to the UK, so I think for me Pleasure Beach is that. If we're talking about smaller parks though, actually there's a lot of smaller quirky parks that have some good theming too, isn't there, you know?
Yeah, I think it's one of them where I'd probably agree with Pleasure Beach because I can't really think of anything else. Yeah,
I think for me, like outside, obviously Poultons is the one that's really there. And I know that you know that too, hence why you said anything other than Poultons. But, you know, some smaller parks, like I went to Sundown Adventureland a few years ago. Some of these smaller parks, even the Gulliver's parks, you know, they've got some good bits of theming around. So you don't necessarily need the big major parks to enjoy a good themed experience, in my opinion.
So, for Alton Towers Scarefest 2024, are you hoping for a whole new event lineup with new zones and new mazes? Yes.
Definitely we are, aren't we, with this one?
The whole event just needs a full freshening up. All the mazes that was currently there to go, bring new stuff in because it's just so stale.
It is very stale, and don't get me wrong, we love Alton Towers, we want to see it do well, but Scarefest needs investment.
God,
the good thing is they have said new spooks and scares are on the way, and they've got that one in early. In this video they put on in February, you know, they've actually put it out there that there's new spooks and scares coming. We wouldn't normally get that sort of confirmation until like July. So this is a good sign. I think Alton Towers know the event needs freshening up. They've cut back on the other events, as I mentioned in the news video a few days ago. I think this is a really positive thing. Spend the money on Scarefest. I think it's almost guaranteed that there'll be at least one, maybe even two or more new scare mazes coming to Scarefest this year. Let's hope so. Keeping them fingers crossed. Anyway, on to the final question. 60 questions you've answered for you all. It's been a long video, but you know what? We thought, let's go for it. When did you first consider doing YouTube full time, and what did you do before? So again, it kind of touches into earlier, but also I didn't really go into, you know, doing it full time, you know, what made me make that decision. So obviously used to work at Alton Towers, as we spoke about earlier on, but at the time I was working at Alton Towers and running the channel as well. So you imagine, you know, working at Alton Towers, doing all these hours, and then you've got the channel, which is doing well, and then both are kind of creeping up, like doing more days, more hours, but the channel was going like this. So a decision had to be made by myself, and that was, what do I do going forwards? Because I knew that I loved doing the channel. I used to love my job at Alton Towers, but was starting to not enjoy it as much due to various management decisions that I didn't agree with. Didn't really want to be the face of the park on the turnstiles of a park that was making bad decisions, you know, and what I as an enthusiast didn't agree with. So I just made that decision to leave and go for it full time. And that was 6 years ago. I said to Charlotte, I'm going to do it for a year and see how it goes. And here we are. And Charlotte, is it full time now as well?
I know, it's been nearly 2 years for me as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I hope that answers the question well enough for you there. But that was the decision to go full time. And we enjoy it. We love what we do. And that kind of summarises, you know, this question and answer and brings it to the end. We love doing these. We don't do a Q&A like really often. So I thought, let's do one ahead of the season opening and just sit down and go through all these questions. It's been good fun, hasn't it?
Oh, it's been so much fun. We've answered so many questions.
And I hope that, you know, we've answered all of your questions the best we have done. I mean, we'll always be honest, the best we can to answer these. And of course, we'll do more Q&As throughout the year. Every so often, we might do a live one again later in the year and some more live streams. We'll definitely do another live stream in March before the parks open again, like just to get us all excited for the season and that sort of thing. But we've still got lots to be excited for because, of course, we're heading on to the cruise, which is coming up on the Sandbrook Adventures. And also, we've got Florida content coming up. We're going to be at Walt Disney World and Universal Orlando again, which is going to be good, seeing some new things. And we talk all about that in the trip reveal from a few days ago. Lots to be excited about. Not forgetting, of course, our wedding that's coming up this year. And the fact that it's the biggest year for UK theme parks in a long time. And so many other great rides opening around the world, like Top Thrill 2 and Voltron. And what a year it is to be alive, isn't it, Charlotte?
Such an exciting year. There's just so much going on and so much to be excited for.
Oh, there really is. But there we go. Thank you very much for joining us, as always. We appreciate each and every one of you for watching the videos. And honestly, thanks so much. And as we said with one of the questions earlier, if you want to comment, you want to like the videos, it really helps us. So if you want to keep doing that and supporting us, thank you so much. But even if you don't want to do that, just by being here and watching the video is so more than enough for us. We love taking you along for our adventures, and that's set to continue in 2024 and beyond. That leaves us with one final thing to say. Get out there and keep on riding. See you in the next video.